I'm going to talk about school because I think we all know about how being a child is one of the most traumatizing experiences, that being a person that stutters, and how the early childhood that you have with this disorder really affects you as a human being and as a person and who you will become later in life. So what it is like for the majority of us at school. So I'll just give you my perspective, and I think the majority of us have the same perspective. If not, I'm sorry, but this is mine. So when people think about stuttering in school, they think it's just about like talking, but for me, it affected more than that. It affected how I showed up to class, how I saw myself, how I interacted with other people, how I even belonged in school. And so it affected whether I wanted to raise my hand, whether I wanted to participate, whether I wanted to interact with my peers, and even if I wanted to even be at school, if I wanted to just be there. There were so many times I'm sitting in the classroom and I knew the answer. You know, when your teacher's like, how come no one's answering the question? And I was like, I know the answer, and I'd be more than happy to tell you the answer, but what happens when I can't get it out and everyone's gonna make fun of me? So why bother? You know, I'm like, I know it, but I'm not gonna say anything. So like, I understood the material, I was paying attention, I just didn't participate. And because I was so scared about what was gonna happen about getting out these words that felt impossible. And over time, that thought just keeps happening and it turns into avoidance. And so then you start talking less as you get older, and as you talk less, then you also like start changing your words. You pick easier words. I start cussing sometimes as like my fillers. I know that's not appropriate, but that's what I do. And so then people think less of me because I use bad words. And so like, that's not fun, but it's turned into this crutch, you know, and these things happen. And then, you know, you try to stay under the radar in school. You don't want to be seen. You're like, maybe if I don't make eye contact with my teacher, she won't call on me. I'm like, damn it, she did call on me. And then, so you hope that they don't call on you ever. And all of this is all happening and you haven't even said anything yet. It's like, this is a nightmare. And then all of a sudden, you're thinking, and then you're thinking, oh, all these people are now looking at me, and you can feel everyone looking at you, and your mind's racing, and then you're thinking, okay, if I start talking, what are they gonna start thinking? Are they gonna start making fun of me? Are they gonna start like, and you're like, oh God, they're talking about me. And then you feel like your throat getting tight, your jaw clenching, and again, you still haven't even talked yet. It's just all this trauma is happening. And if you are gonna talk, you're like, okay, how can I change what I'm gonna say? Because I know if I say this, it's probably gonna get stuck. And then you're like, wait, is it too late to go to the bathroom? Like, can I go? I should have gone to the bathroom and just been in there for like 20 minutes and just missed the whole class, because then I wouldn't get called on. So in school, you're supposed to be learning, but like, how can you be learning if you're so paranoid and terrified and traumatized about having to talk? Because in school, the way that you're supposed to be learning is by participating, but you can't participate the way you want to participate because you're scared. And so it's just this constant loop that we have, and it continues with us from little. And you know, kids are mean when they're little, but they get meaner. That's my personal opinion. You know, they're mean when they're kinder, but then when they're like in third, fourth, they're even meaner. You know, so it's been going with you for a while now, and it's just chipping away at you until like you're not even there anymore. So for many students who stutter, school isn't just academically challenging, it's also emotionally challenging and emotionally exhausting. And the fear of being laughed at and the reality of being made fun of and the constant pressure of social interactions can really lead to anxiety and lead to depression. And those things don't stay separate from learning. They directly impact each other. And because of these things happening during these years, students are trying to figure out who they are and if they fit in and where they belong, and being different in a way that people don't understand is super isolating. And it becomes even harder when the adults in the room, like your teachers, your speech pathologists, your principals, even your parents — I had good parents, but there are people that don't — are the ones that are supposed to be supporting you, or the ones that don't understand that you have a stutter. And so that's very difficult. So if a student has my big thing is, if a student has a visible disability in school, in life, we adjust, we become patient, we show understanding. But a huge thing about stuttering, the same level of awareness isn't there at all, which makes me very sad. And so with that, I really think we need to find compassion and understanding from our teachers. And so even when teachers didn't know what to do, they would make comments like, "Are you having a hard time? Are you nervous? Just slow down." And having people finish your sentences, those things constantly stay with you again, and they shape how you see yourself and whether or not you're important and whether or not your voice is important, and if your voice even matters, because you don't think it does anymore. So everyone had good intentions, but that's not always the best thing, personally. So I think what would help is actually really simple, like all my fellow stutterers say. We would just like some time, some patience, some understanding. We will talk to you about it when we're ready. Sorry, I hated school. And something that's really important is, well, we will talk about it when we're ready and when we're ready to address it. And we don't want to address it in front of our peers ever. It's very humiliating to talk about it. Many students who stutter do not want to talk about it, and it's not because we don't have feelings about it, it's because it's already hard to talk. And now you want us to talk about something that's already very challenging for us. So just give us time and know that we will talk when we are ready. And when we do, you probably won't get us to shut up. At least me, I'll tell you that. So the fear of being looked at differently and the fear of another moment of what we know exactly what we want to say, but it just won't come out. It wasn't until I was in my late 20s that I was just this is me. And I'm I stutter. I advocate for all of my students with severe disabilities. I should advocate for myself. And if someone has a problem with that, and if they want to make fun of me, that's on them. And I'm not gonna do it anymore. And if someone wants to tell me to shut up, too bad. I've been quiet for way too long, and I'm gonna keep talking. So I just want to say thank you all for coming, and just understand that this is an invisible disability, and that it's here, but you can't see what it does to a lot of us and what we have gone through and what we still go through. So I just want to say thank you for coming and understanding that there's a lot more to go. Thank you, Dr. McGuire, for everything.